Good morning, kindergarten. Today we are going to be doing another read aloud. And I thought I would add a little bit of fun to our days by saying we're not at school. We don't have to wear our uniforms. So guess what? You can wear costumes in your videos. So I'm starting today before I read aloud by showing you my costume. I am a butterfly today, and you can dress up as anything you want if your family say it's okay in your videos. Have fun with them. We're not at school right now. We are still learning, but no need to be in your uniforms. Dress up and learn with me in costume, okay? So, I am going to start by doing our read aloud. Let's start. We know some of it already. Front cover, back cover, spine. Touch your back, touch your spine. Open your mind, hands in your lap. It's story time. So, this book is called A Computer Called Katherine. And it's a very important book that we are reading for Women's History Month. So, we're just going to get started. Now, this book was written by Susan Slade, and Susan Slade is the author. Let's do our song. The author writes the words. The author writes the words. Hi-ho, a cheerio. The author writes the words. And this book was illustrated by Veronica Miller Jamison, and the illustrators draw the picture. The illustrator draws the picture. The illustrator draws the picture. Hi-ho, a cheerio. The illustrator draws the picture. Okay, let's get started. A Computer Called Katherine. Make sure I'm starting. Great. A Computer Called Katherine. Now, the illustrator did a really fantastic job because in this book, you can see that she even put the outline and some of the planets and stars and math problems that Katherine did. So it's really important I'm showing you every single page because the illustrator did an incredible job. Everywhere she went, Katherine counted. She counted her steps to church. She counted the plates on the dinner table. She even tried counting the stars in the sky. Do you love to count as much as Katherine loves to count? I know I do. It's so fun to count how many balls I have in my basket, and it's so fun for me to count how many days there are in the week. What's something that you can count? Most important, Katherine counted the days until she could start school because she loved learning and wanted to grow her brain. Finally, at age 5, she followed her brother hundreds of steps to their 2-room schoolhouse. Their school was very tiny. An excellent student, Katherine devoured thick books and added numbers at the speed of light. So the teachers decided she would skip first grade. She was so smart. She didn't even have to go to first grade. Whoa! I love first grade, so I definitely want us all going to first grade. But some people get to skip grades if their brains are too big. And she started in 2nd. But Katherine was such a fast learner. And before you could say mathematician, magician, she was a grade ahead of her older brother. Holy bagoli, her brain was just so big. Here's the schoolhouse, and here's her doing really hard work. Katherine loved math because it was easy to see if an answer was right or wrong because she used so many different tools. Maybe she used her fingers, maybe she used her counting tool with numbers. Maybe she used objects to count. Meanwhile, most everyone in town was arguing about right and wrong. Some people said it was wrong for children with different skin colors to attend the same school. Others said it wasn't right for women to work the same jobs as men. So those are two problems that we've already talked about, right? We've talked about being equal and having equity, right? And we've talked about the difference between those problems, right? So Katherine was alive at a time when the equal rights movement was happening, and they were talking about people with different skin colors and where they were able to go and the schools they were able to go to, like Ruby Bridges. And they were also talking about a woman's equality movement, saying women could only have certain jobs and men had to have certain jobs. Their arguments seemed wrong to Katherine, as wrong as 5 plus 5 equals 12. Is that true? No. She believed everyone should be treated the same. So she kept working hard in school and dreamed of a future where all people could have equal rights. So here's the picture of the black people and of the white people and them arguing. Katherine finished 8th grade when she was only 10 years old, but her town didn't have a high school for black students. Determined to keep learning, she counted the dusty miles, 120 in all, as her family moved closer to a school she could attend. There, she took an exciting math class called geometry. She learned how points and lines made shapes, triangles, trapezoids, and perfect parallelograms. And her love for math grew exponentially. Now that's a big word. Exponentially. Say that with me. Exponentially. That seems like we should do this. Exponentially. Okay. Exponentially means it grew even more. Can we do exponentially? Exponentially means something grew even more. Thanks for doing that with me. That was kind of silly. Oop, I almost forgot to show you the page. Here's her love of math and all the shapes she's learning about. I know we've learned about so many shapes already. At 15, Katherine started college. She flew through every math class at West Virginia State, so a professor taught harder classes just for her. In advanced geometry, she plotted points on a graph. When she connected the points, they created a beautiful U-curved shape called a parabola. It was love at first sight. After graduation, Katherine became a math teacher. So not just like a kindergarten teacher like Miss Bear, but a math teacher, a person who only teaches math. Back then, people said women could only be teachers or nurses. Katherine knew this was wrong as 10 minus 5 equals 3. Is that right? No. She believed women could be anything. Scientists, lawyers, mathematician, doctors. So she set out to prove it. What is something you think a woman can be? Here's my picture as you think. What's a job you think a woman can have? I think it's anything they want to be. What do you think? Okay. Katherine discovered a research center in Virginia that was hiring women mathematicians. They were called computers because they made calculations that helped the men engineers design airplanes and flight planes. To Katherine, it added up to be the perfect job. All day long, she punched numbers on a calculator just like the other woman. She solved long math equations just like the other woman. She wrote answers on huge data sheet just like all the other women. So I think this page is really important because it's talking about how even though Katherine, right, was amazing, it wasn't just her that was doing this amazing work. So many other women, and specifically, if you look, so many other Black women were doing this amazing work too. This page is kind of sad, but you'll see this. But Katherine wasn't like the other woman. She asked questions, lots of questions. What were her calculations used for? Why were they important? How did her answers help airplanes design and flight? The man engineers noticed the woman who asked intelligent questions and how quickly she solved difficult math problems. So they asked Katherine to join their space team. Its mission: send America's first astronaut into space. Katherine said yes. She discovered that women weren't allowed to attend the group's meetings. That's the really sad part. She knew this was wrong as 5 plus 5 equal 20. We know that's wrong. So she asked if she could go. Women don't ever go to those, the engineers replied. Is there a law against it? Katherine asked. No. So here's the picture of Katherine asking all of her important questions to the white men. And them saying she can't go to those meetings, even though she was really supposed to, and she had big brains and was able to. So Katherine showed up at the next meeting. Wow, she was really brave. Ready to work. Astounded by her geometry skills, the team asked her to calculate when America's first spaceship should blast off. Katherine agreed, but first she asked questions like, where should the rocket splash down? How high should it fly? Where should it land? With that information, Katherine carefully computed the rocket's flight path, a beautiful U-shaped curve, kind of like what she was doing when she was in high school and college. Next, she worked backwards to figure out the time it should blast off. Then she began counting the days until the launch. Wow, here is Katherine making all these amazing math problems and hypothesis. That means a very good guess, and good guess based on data. And all of the white men learning from Katherine. Very important moment. Okay, you're going to get to see this in flight. You're going to love this page. On May 5th, 1961, Alan Shepard blasted off. Following Katherine's flight path, he soared into the silver sky. 15 minutes later, he splashed down into the Atlantic Ocean, right on the schedule that Katherine made, and right on target. Wow, kindergarten. Here is Katherine's line. So I'm going to even show you a picture so you can see what I'm seeing. See how Katherine made that exact line? That exact line is right here. And that is the work that she was doing. They applied the work she did. So when we're learning in kindergarten, we're not just learning just so we can know our shapes and numbers, right? We're learning so that we can take what we learn and apply it to be what we want to be. And Katherine did just that. She just applied her math to this incredible spaceship journey. So amazing. Can we say, we're so proud of you, Katherine? Let's say that together. We're so proud of you, Katherine. Soon, Americans began dreaming of longer flights around the entire Earth. To figure out the main math for this, Miss Bear, completed trip, engineers decided to use their new room-sized computer that worked much faster than people. But astronaut John Glenn trusted Katherine more than a machine. Would you trust Katherine more than a machine? I know I would. Me too. He wouldn't step one foot onto the rocket until she said the computer's calculations were correct. Happy to help, Katherine checked every number. On February 20th, 1962, John Glenn became the first American to orbit space Earth. So orbit means go around the entire Earth. So the last picture we saw, right, they were just blasting off from one state into the ocean. In this one, right, we're seeing that they're going all around the whole planet Earth. So here's a picture of Katherine fixing the machine's calculations, and here's John Glenn taking off to orbit Earth. The people began wondering if an astronaut could travel all the way to the moon. Both the Soviet Union and the United States wanted to be the first to land there and win the space race. Katherine knew this flight was incredibly long and dangerous. Every calculation would have to be perfect. One math mistake and the rocket would zoom right past the moon. So here is Katherine thinking, and I feel like a little bit worried about the rocket not making it to the moon. Because here's Earth, here's the orbit that John Glenn did, right? And then they wanted to not only orbit, they wanted to go all the way to the moon. You might see the moon in the night sky. Raise your hand if you've ever shouted out, if you've ever seen the moon before. Me too! I have. I love seeing the moon at night. As NASA computer hammered and compiled a flight path to the moon and back, Katherine went to work too, double-checking the machine's calculations. But this was the most complicated geometry problem she'd ever seen. One of the points, the spacecraft was flying incredibly fast. Her target, the moon, was constantly circling Earth. Okay, so I'm going to explain that in a second with our picture. Some people thought the problem was too difficult to solve, but Katherine knew that was wrong as 25 plus 5 equals 4. That's very wrong. She calculated and computed, she plotted and planned, she created a bold, brave path all the way to the moon and back. So here, let me show you what's happening. So our Earth, right here, our planet, I wish I had something circular, but I don't, not right now. We'll do that later, maybe when we're in school. The Earth is circling, so it's going spinning, 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 right? And then the moon, here's the moon, it's going around Earth. It's orbiting Earth the same way John Glenn just orbited Earth. And as that's spinning, so she needed to do all of this as things were moving and spinning. That's really complicated math, right? Would that be tricky for you to solve? It would be. I don't even think I could solve it. 10, 9, ignition sequence started. Heart racing, Katherine leaned closer to the small television screen. 7, 6, 5. She held her breath as powerful flames exploded on the launch pad. 4, 3, 2, 1, lift off! The rumbling rocket slowly rose above the ground, above the smoke, above the clouds, and disappeared into space. So here's Katherine feeling really worried about that really complicated and hard problem that she just was very brave to solve. And here is the rocket blasting off. 4 days later, as Neil Armstrong took the first steps on the moon, Katherine smiled and began to count. Did she do it? She did it. Look at that. This is the United States of America flag on the moon. And here's Katherine, so proud of herself. We're proud of her too, aren't we? Girls are capable of doing everything men are capable, said Katherine. If you want to ask a question, there's no such thing as a dumb question, said Katherine. So here is our picture of real life Katherine, right? And here is the back page with all of her amazing math problems that she did. So this is probably one of Miss Bear's favorite stories. And I want you, let's think. I want you to draw Catherine's mission to the moon. You can draw it for me. And actually, if you want, you can even act it out. Maybe pretend you were Katherine. Maybe draw her a picture. You decide. Some sort of way of showing me Catherine's mission to the moon. Have fun making your pictures and doing your acting.